Notice of motion private business number 7, the Honourable T.A. Franks to move.
Honourable Franks.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You have to say something before
I
you
have to say it before you second it, the Honourable Mr. Sims. Thank you, Mr. President. I move notice of motion private business number 7, standing amendment name.
Seconded. And it's seconded. Honourable Franks.
Thank you, Mr. President. This motion recognises that Thursday, 7th of September 2023 was National Threatened Species Day. It also notes that Whalers Way, located at the southern tip of the Eyre Peninsula, is home to a number of threatened, endangered and migratory species, including the southern emu wren and the southern right whale. It acknowledges that the Southern Launch Whalers Way Orbital Launch Complex poses a significant risk to the protected habitat crucial for the survival of the southern emu wren and the southern right whale. And it calls on the Malinauskas Government to safeguard this nature sanctuary and commit to zero extinctions as a matter of priority. Mr. President, this is Biodiversity Month, and last week it was National Threatened Species Day. It's an important day in Australian history, as it marks the date that this Tasmanian tiger was officially declared an extinct species in 1936. That was 50 years on, in 1996, that we saw the first inaugural National Threatened Species Day. And it is, Mr. President, I think, a time to reflect on human stupidity and greed. That tiger was believed to have died from the cold after being locked out of its sleeping quarters in the Hobart Zoo back in 1936. Yet the species, of course, had already received its real death sentence, despite being common in Tasmania before European settlement as far back as 1803. Tasmanian tigers were believed to have been driven to extinction predominantly by hunting, with habitat destruction and disease believed also to have played a role. Since 1936, far too many other species have followed the Tassie tiger down that sad extinction path. And National Threatened Species Day is a stark reminder that the native species we respect and adore could well slip away from us unless we act now. And there are far too many on the list, Mr. President, but today I will focus on two in particular, and one place in South Australia in particular, a very special place, Whalers Way. Located on the southern tip of the Eyre Peninsula in South Australia, is a home to a number of threatened, endangered and migratory species. It's located within a conservation zone and it's covered by the State Heritage Agreement due to its significant native vegetation. Whalers Way also represents critical remnant habitat for the southern emu wren of the Eyre Peninsula, a beautiful bird which has recently had its protection increased by changing its national conservation status from vulnerable to endangered. The southern emu wren is a small bird with stick-like tail of 6 feathers. It's called an emu wren because those tail feathers are emu-like. Their plumage is olive grey or brown grey. It has a brown streaking across its head, neck and back, and it has a white belly. The male has a distinctive large patch of light or sky blue on its chin, throat and upper breast, and a stripe above its eye that the female does not have. The southern emu wren is not very skilled at flying and instead tends to hop or scramble like a mouse through scrubland and habitat. It might be able to fly for perhaps a few metres at best, if it can manage that. The main threat to the southern emu wren at Whalers Way is the loss, degradation and fragmentation of habitat. The largest threat right now to that southern emu wren in South Australia in Whalers Way is Southern Launch, an Australian rocket launch and range service provider which has been using Whalers Way as a rocket launching complex since September 2021. According to Southern Launch's own environmental impact statement, the southern emu wren may well be significantly impacted by, quote, habitat loss, fauna mortality from vehicle strike and indirect impacts that may lead to behavioural changes from noise and light, end quote. Put simply, Whalers Way is simply the wrong place for space. It is an industry that is experimental by its very nature and fraught with danger to this species. The Nature Conservation Society of South Australia has said land clearance, disturbance by humans, including noise, vibration and cars, as well as the increased risk of bushfire, puts the bird at extreme risk. The rocket launching campaign is a significant risk to this area of national environmental significance and threatens the protected habitat that is critical to these species' survival. Yet, despite all this, the proponent, Southern Launch, continues to push ahead with its plan and refuses to refer it for consideration under the EPBC Act. Whalers Way, of course, is also an important nursery for the migratory southern right whale, listed as endangered under the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act. The southern right whale usually calves every 3 years, but a 2022 Curtin University-led study has found that the majority of whales are having an offspring only every 4 or 5 years. Indeed, in that report, it found that increased calving intervals have been linked to climate change and slower recovery rates. For more than 30 years, researchers have conducted annual surveys of southern right whales to track their population off Australia's southern coastline. Southern right whales were once abundant in the waters of South Australia, but intensive whaling in the 1800s drastically scaled back their numbers. Again, we point to human greed and, in some ways, stupidity. The right whales, of course, as many in this chamber would know, were called the right whales because they were seen as the right ones to hunt. Why? Because they were close to the shore, they were slow, they would float when dead, and it would be easy to harvest the abundant oil and baleen. Conservation efforts have boosted the endangered species Australian population to around 3,000, but the report author, Charlton, has said more can be done to protect the southern right whales. A recent census recorded low numbers this year. Only 320 whales were counted compared to 530 last year, so only 320 this year, with significantly fewer mother and calf pairs than in previous years. The census takers, photographers and tourism officials are devastated, saying that the ocean feels like a, quote, barren desert this season. We know that the key threats to whale populations are habitat disruption, underwater noise and strikes from marine vessels and entanglement. Scientific evidence continues to emerge that the level of noise pollution associated with this type of development causes serious behavioural disruption in these marine mammals. This is not the right place for space at Whalers Way. Southern Launch's environmental impact statement is also trying to claim that the debris would not have a significant impact on marine life below the surface, and that the noise from rocket launches and tests would not expose any wildlife to a decibel level sufficient to cause, quote, permanent hearing damage, end quote. This rocket launching campaign will have devastating impacts on all the animals who call Whalers Way their home, is the real potential here. Allowing this to go ahead, something that was approved only temporarily, allowing this experimental process to go ahead does risk long-term damage to Australia's already struggling biodiversity. The South Australian Heritage Act was established in 1978 to prevent the overclearance of native vegetation and to protect native fauna in the agricultural regions of our state. The Memorandum of Agreement states that the landholder shall not, without the written consent of the Minister, undertake or permit within the Heritage Agreement area the clearance of native vegetation, the planting of vegetation, whether native or exotic, the construction of a building or other structure, the grazing of stock or any other activity that, in the opinion of the Minister, is likely to damage, injure or endanger the native vegetation or native fauna within the Heritage Agreement area. Less than 1% of land in South Australia is protected under this Heritage Act, and Whalers Way is just a tiny part of this tiny percentage. That Heritage Agreement is an incredibly important act as we reflect on this Biodiversity Month, I believe, because it was established in a time there was becoming clearer and clearer that we needed to protect what little we had left of our native vegetation, the flora and fauna into the future. That was 45 years ago. The need was great then, the need is even greater now. Natural ecosystems and biodiversity are essential to human health and well-being, and there is an inextricable link between a healthy environment and the health of us and our society. Protected areas such as Whalers Way are vital to the preservation of Australia's biodiversity. They are vital to the continuation in South Australia of the southern emu wen. And as we reflect on National Threatened Species Day and the stupidity of human populations and the devastating effect that has on other populations, I think it's important to reflect on a day like this that is important, a month like this that is important, but action right now is important. Putting space in the right place, ensuring we don't repeat the mistakes of our past. And if we do not reflect on days like today and the history that we already have, we are doomed to reflect and repeat the mistakes of our past. With that, I commend the motion.